Chapter 7. Worldly Life and Spiritual Life.
Most people waste their life in trivial concerns. Then when old age overtakes them, many who are in service, retire on pensions and spend their last days at some place of pilgrimage. They think that they will attain bhakti, devotion, and mukti, liberation. They hope also that the tirthas, places of pilgrimage, will enable them to expiate all the sins they have committed. Is it not sheer madness to think thus? What else can it be? He who firmly believes in the purifying power of the tirthas will no doubt receive some spiritual impetus therefrom. The tirthas are always pure and holy, and those who have good samskaras, tendencies, are somewhat benefited by them spiritually. That is all. Nothing more can be expected from them. Benares, however, has to be considered an exception. Many people, for this reason, are anxious to spend the last days of their life there. They entertain the firm hope that they will attain liberation, if they pass away in that sacred city. True it is that a man is freed from the bonds of samsara, birth and death, if he breathes his last at Benares. Viswanath is the Lord of the universe, and strange and inscrutable are his ways. Is it desirable to live a life in misery and suffering and then attain mukti, liberation? Is it not wiser to enjoy the present life in the ecstasy of devotion and spiritual practice and then once for all enter the portals of infinite bliss? As Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna, used to say, you can enter a house through its front gate or through its back door, but which of these is better? When it is possible to gain entrance through the front gate, why should we enter through the back door? Decide now which of these two you should choose, momentary happiness or infinite bliss, the pleasures of this life or the everlasting peace of the life beyond. One great thing to be considered is kripa, divine grace. The breeze of His grace is always blowing. Only unfurl your sails and you will have it. How can you catch the breeze if you keep your sails furled? Hoist them now and do not delay any longer. Give up your desires for worldly enjoyments, your hankering for name and fame, and fully resign yourself to the Lord. It is quite impossible to enjoy worldly pleasures and at the same time realize God. You cannot serve both God and mammon at the same time. If you want to realize God, you must renounce worldly pleasures. If on the other hand, you desire to enjoy temporal pleasures, you will have to give up God. Do not keep your feet in two boats, as they say. If you do, you will only make yourself miserable. You must have a clear conception of your life's ideal. Decide now what life you want to lead. Should it be this fleeting life of transient pleasures or the everlasting life of eternal bliss? You are young boys, innocent and guileless. Worldliness has not yet left its impress on your mind. If you will be up and doing now, you can escape from the clutches of the trials and tribulations of worldly life. See that your principles are fixed even now. If it is not done now, it will never be done. Mere skipping on the surface will be of no avail. Hold to your ideal. Hold fast, and never loosen your grip. To the man who has accepted God as the be-all and end-all of life, who has forsaken all desires and cravings for sensual enjoyments, to him, God is very near. Such a man binds God with the ties of his love, as Yasoda and the gopis did Gopal. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, he who has denied himself for the sake of God has a strong and undisputed claim on him. As one can endearingly demand anything of one's parents or one's near relations, so a devotee has a right to ask God, Lord, appear before me. Will you not come? You must come. When a devotee is earnest, God cannot remain unmoved. He hastens to him and takes him on his lap. Oh, how inexpressible that joy! How boundless that bliss! He alone knows it who has had that supreme experience. Compared to it, worldly pleasures, so dear to most people, become insipid and worthless. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, he who has totally given up carnal enjoyments for the sake of God has already covered 3/4 of his journey. Is it easy to renounce all enjoyments? Only if a man has God's grace and has done severe tapas, spiritual discipline, in his past life, can he acquire the strength required for renunciation. Purify your mind in such a way that vile thoughts may not arise in it at all. You are all brahmacharins, unmarried. You will not marry. You have pledged your life to God, sacrificing pleasures, enjoyments and all for His sake. But bear in mind that it is very hard to lead a pure and unsullied life. It is not so easy as you young boys take it to be. Do you know what it is like? It is like walking on the edge of a drawn sword. Every moment there is the chance of a fall, of being sliced to pieces. Perfect continence is the only condition of success in this life. And it is difficult, nay, impossible, to practice absolute purity without love and faith in God. You have to live in a world full of passions and enjoyments. Every day you have to see before you more than 99% of the people running mad after sensual pleasures. There is constant risk of your mind being contaminated with evil thoughts. If your mind becomes tainted by them, there is no hope for you. Those who want to lead a life of brahmacharya, continence, must always engage their minds in thinking good thoughts, studying good books and in discussing elevating subjects. They must spend their time in worship of God, service of holy men, in the company of pious people, and in the practice of meditation and other kinds of spiritual discipline. This is the only way to mold one's character. First of all, be firm in your devotion to the practice of brahmacharya, continence. Everything else will come by itself. Perfection in continence cannot be attained without sadhana, spiritual practices, and without perfect continence, realization of God is impossible. Unless God is realized, real bliss cannot be had, and without real happiness, human life will be spent in vain. You are all young boys with pure minds and noble aspirations. I beg of you, my dear ones, do a little sadhana and you will see how shraddha, faith, and bhakti, devotion, will be roused within you. You will become heirs of immortal bliss. You will be blessed with the vision of your Ishtam, the chosen ideal, with the vision of God. You will then attain to the ultimate goal of human life.